Universalist Church of Nashville. My name is Jay Tiefenbrunn, and I am very pleased to be your Director of Music Ministries. I'd like to welcome you this morning with our morning songs and invite you to join in the singing with number 67 in the gray hymnal. We sing now together, hymn number 67. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're so moved and join in the singing.
of this chalice reminds us of our values, let there be light. As the glow of this chalice encourages us to hope, let there be light.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Couch. I'm still the Reverend Denise Couch. I am your assistant minister. Our lead minister, Gail Seavey, is away today on her sort of a 50th anniversary honeymoon with her husband, Jim. So we're glad that they get this time away. Our call to worship this morning is adapted from words written by Deborah Hafner. We are on a journey. We didn't plan it. We didn't have time for the bread to rise. We may find ourselves in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, doubting that we should have ever come. But look around. We are not alone. It is our journey together, a journey to our better selves, a journey to a better world, a journey to a more promised land. Come, let us journey together.
Another 100 people just got off of the train and came up from the ground, while another 100 people just got off of the bus and are looking around at another 100 people who got off of the plane and are looking at us who got off of the plane and the train and the bus maybe yesterday. It's a city of strangers. Some come to work, some to play. A city of strangers. Some come to stare, some to stay. And every day, the ones who stay can find each other in the crowded streets and the guarded parks, by the rusty fountains and the dusty trees with the battered barks. And they walk together past the postered walls with the crude remarks. And they meet at parties through the friends of friends who they never know. Will you pick me up, or do I meet you there, or shall we let it go? Did you get my message? 'Cause I looked in vain. Can we see each other Tuesday if it doesn't rain? Look, I'll call you in the morning, or my service will explain. And another 100 people just got off of the train. It's a city of strangers. Some come to work, some to play. A city of strangers. Some come to stare, some to stay. And every day, the ones who stay can find each other in the crowded streets and the guarded parks, by the rusty fountains and the dusty trees with the battered barks. And they walk together past the postered walls with the crude remarks. And they meet at parties through the friends of friends who they never know. Will you pick me up, or do I meet you there, or shall we let it go? Did you get my message? 'Cause I looked in vain. Can we see each other Tuesday if it doesn't rain? Look, I'll call you in the morning, or my service will explain. And another 100 people just got off of the train. And another 100 people just got off of the train. And another 100 people just got off of the train. And another 100 people just got off of the train.
And so we have a fun song instead of story
Thank you. Okay, so instead of a story, we're doing a song this morning. We're doing a little parody of Wheels on the Bus. The lyrics are in your order of service. And so for all of our kiddos who know this song but maybe have never actually ridden a bus, this might give you an idea of what it's like. So our children's choir director, Karina Daza, is going to lead us in song. Thank you.
Is this on? Okay, cool. Everybody have the lyrics? Y'all ready? Because I can't do this by myself. Okay. All right. Everybody. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Get the driver on the bus goes welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. The driver on the bus goes welcome in, all through the chat. The child on the bus goes why, 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 why. Why? The child on the bus goes, why? All through the town. The parent on the bus goes, yes, my dear, yes, my dear. The parent on the bus goes, yes, my dear, all through the town. The elder on the bus goes, listen here, listen here, listen here. The elder on the bus goes, listen here, all through the town. The people on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The people on the bus go round and round, all through the town. Look at you guys, professionals. Yeah. And now, if you guys will join me to sing the children out on the children's busing on the back of the great hymnal, so they can come sing with me today.
Good morning. My name is Sally Winkle, and I am a member of the Worship Associates Committee. It is my pleasure to welcome you here in this sanctuary, and to those of you joining us online, welcome to worship this morning as well. In order to reach a wider community than those able to be physically present on Sunday morning, our services are live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. Joys and concerns, however, are not live streamed or recorded. Before I continue, let me remind you to silence your cell phones, please. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We deepen our relationships as we create a compassionate, welcoming community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. We ask you to wear the paper name tags because it helps us recognize you as someone we would like to meet. Whether you are new to Unitarian Universalism or visiting from another UU congregation, we invite you to stop by the welcome table after the services to have any questions answered. People become members of this congregation by signing the membership book and supporting the church with their time and finances. If you are considering joining this church, please talk to our assistant minister, whom you have already met, Ms. Denise Gouch. Following the service, we hope that everyone will enjoy coffee and fellowship in the social area, where you will also find information about current opportunities for engagement and reflection. There are many announcements in the weekly bulletin, which I hope you'll take home with you and read, and I have been asked to highlight one more. Today until 1 o'clock, the Trans Affirming Collective and Chalice Fire is hosting a rainbow tent, which is a space to gather for communal healing and to nurture spiritual growth. Intentionally inclusive of folks of all ages and across the gender spectrum, the Rainbow Tent will include energy healers, pet therapy, and readings from inclusive children's books. Come join us on the patio outside the social hall. And now I would like to introduce a moment of stewardship by David Dickinson.
Good morning. You may guess why I'm dressed in this somewhat non-traditional manner here. I'm going to talk about biking. I think I represent the alternative transportation part of this service today because my preferred method of non-automotive transportation is my bike. Now, there are practical, ideological, and personal reasons for this style choice. This lifestyle choice. When we moved to Nashville 14 years ago and were deciding where to live, I wanted a place close enough to Vanderbilt that I could ride with reasonable safety. Having sold our house in Boston at the peak of its housing bubble, we were fortunate enough to be able to consider houses in Green Hills. As we were looking for houses, we had our realtor take us to the nearest Unitarian Universalist church. So we made our first stop at First UU. As it happened, that was when the church was in the process of looking for a new minister. And then there were statements that were posted in the hallway of people's previous lives and religious convictions. So as we read those statements, we found it was remarkably similar to the church that we had attended in Lexington, Massachusetts, with one minor exception. There were a lot fewer fallen away Catholics and a lot fewer and more fallen away Baptists here than we had. So it sounded like a place that would be a comfortable home for us and assured us that we would be living in a neighborhood close to a church that we could call our new church home. I now ride my bike nearly everywhere in almost all weather conditions, sometimes to the distress of my wife. There are many reasons for this. First, I reduce my personal carbon footprint. I can get where I want to go relatively quickly. I don't have to hassle parking ever. I don't need to pay for a parking place at Vanderbilt, and that's a major payoff. If any of you work at Vanderbilt, think about that. And even at my age, I like feeling a bit macho. And I end the day with a glow of little aftermath of light exercise. And last but not least, I feel no guilt at taking the ice cream out of the freezer and having a little bit of ice cream before bed. Also, it may just be that I'm a bit stubborn and refuse to give in to the seductive appeal of sitting in an air-conditioned car. I also enjoy bike riding because it's an expression of my Unitarian Universalist faith. As you may have noted, Unitarians don't do mission trips. We're also not good at proselytizing. But I have an urge to do a sort of covert proselytizing. This first took shape after George W. Bush was elected in 2000. Some may recall that in that campaign, there was an appeal to religion and a nasty anti-gay messaging in that campaign. Once he was elected, I was angry at the fact that only one particular perspective on religion seemed to be getting play in the national scene. At that point, I was giving quite a few talks to fairly large groups of early childhood people, teachers and administrators around the country, and decided that I was going to include a statement that I was particularly fond of from Reverend Edward Everett Hale that's in our hymnal. I am only one, and yet I am one. And because I am one, I will not refuse to do the something I can do. I now have that as a final slide on my presentations, along with these ascribing this credit to our hymnal. I live out that message with my biking. When I walk into meetings, the grocery store, the post office, restaurant, church events, with my bike helmet and related paraphernalia. I don't usually wear this. I feel I am quietly making a statement about my values. By my actions, I'm stating, I care about our environment. I'm expending energy in an effort to reduce car traffic, carbon emissions, and our interconnected web. Also, on nearly every day as I ride, I have brief spoken exchange with someone. Often, I bring smiles to the faces of people I'm passing. Now, I know that some of those are probably bemused smiles, given that, objectively speaking, I am a senior citizen dressed for work, pedaling down the street on my bicycle. Whatever the emotions those reactions are born from, in a tiny way, I feel like I have connected with others, ever so slightly improving that interconnected web. Not only do I make passing connections with other people during my rides, but riding is a means of a connection with my father, who was a minister. So now in honor of Father's Day, I'm going to briefly put on his stole from when he was a minister. I discovered after my mother died that she had saved 2 of his stoles. It's probably totally inappropriate. I'm not ordained, but anyway, here we are. When I was in middle school and high school, we lived about 3 miles from church. We only had 1 car. I mean, ministers were even more underpaid then than now. So my dad often rode to and from work in his suit. His bike was a valuable means of transportation, but I know that he too cherished that little macho aspect of biking. When I was in middle school one day, we had lunch at home, and my dad would sometimes come and join us. I recall one day when he arrived out of breath, gleefully exclaiming how fast he had made it from church to home. After he retired in Claremont, California, he did pastoral care, calling on people in their homes. Having survived his first bout of prostate cancer, and at about my current age, he was still riding around the foothills of Southern California. As I ride, I relish feeling connected to his joie de vivre. Biking also provides connections to my church community. My friend and bike zealot, John Harkey, and I have bonded around our shared fondness for biking. I've gone on many bike adventures with him and others, including the Tour de Nash, for which we have a small UU group. It includes Tony Tyler and Jeff Stein, Philip Vest, and others, and we often see other UUs. The surfaces are sometimes there and others. I enjoy being a part of a group of people who also value the importance of our societal reliance, of reducing our societal reliance on gasoline-powered automobiles. So when I make my financial contributions to the church, I feel I'm helping to sustain a community that provides me connections with other people and with a set of values that are central to how I live my life. Thank you.
If you all want to take a deep breath and center yourselves, this is the time in our service where we think and feel about moments that have touched our spirit or our heart in ways that are both painful and joyful. If you would like to share that moment with the congregation, you may place a stone inside of the water with the help of Gloria Ballard, our lay minister today. And if you would like us to actually say it aloud here in the congregation, you're free to write it on one of those yellow slips of paper and bring it up, and Gloria and I will read it to the congregation. Also, during the service, you're always welcome to light a candle at the back and put your slip up there as well. spirit of life and love. We hold in our hearts those joys of new beginnings, like beginning a new school, of new ways of honoring our commitment to this church and our spirit, in ways even like biking to church and breaking around, in different ways that we connect with people, in different ways that we share our joys and our concerns. We hold in our hearts also those that were unspoken, those that may carry a deep weight inside of our heart that are no less important just because they remain silent. We thank you for the community that we share together, that we share our joy and our spirit and our comfort and our love together as always. Amen.
In just a moment, the ushers will come among you with the offering bowls. As you may know, this congregation shares a portion of every collection with an organization that works to further our values beyond the walls of this church. This month, the Share the Plate recipient is the congregation's Trans Affirming Collective, which is a group that works toward justice and inclusion for all people, regardless of gender and sexuality, especially gender orientations. You can read a little bit more about them in the order of service. If you are interested in donating online and you are in the sanctuary, you can find instructions in your order of service. If you are joining us through the miracles of the internet, you can always find donation instructions on our website, thefun, THEFUUN.org. And no matter who you are, where you are joining us from, and whether or not you share generously of your gifts, your generosity and your presence are welcomed with gratitude.
How many of you ride the bus? Bus riders comprise 2% of commuters. If more people rode the bus, our architect would not have emphasized parking in his presentation about building a new church. I'm a fun congregant without a car, and I ride the bus for community growth and for spiritual growth. Board chair of WeGo Transit, which used to be Nashville Metro Transit Authority, says that we strive to connect people to their lives and to their community. We are the community is part of us, and so are we. The downtown bus station is where like 55 buses converge and terminate every day, and 21 park and ride lots and hundreds of bus stops feed 3,000 riders downtown every day. These hubs will grow in the future. There will be what we call transit centers in places like Clarksville, TSU, and Smyrna. This is one thing you don't have to worry about when you ride the bus is GPS. So this is a old-fashioned paper map, and the post-it here is downtown, the post-it here is Green Hills. They are connected by the number 7 bus, which takes about 20 minutes, covering about 5 miles. Way up here, some of our congregants live, is Rivergate. The number 56 bus connects downtown in about 30 minutes, covering 11 miles. Down here, maybe some people may live in Nolensville. The number 52 bus connects to downtown in 45 minutes, covering 9 miles. The bus in the schedule is on the left. I volunteer at the Food Project and also at the Room in the Inn Winter Shelter Program. So when I can't get a ride to the Winter Shelter Program, I bake whole grain muffins, sew them in my backpack, and transport them by bus. In order to volunteer at the Food Project twice a week, I take the number 3 bus out front, and that takes me downtown to number 19, which drops me off in the Nations. Spiritual growth does not require good transportation, but to get here on Sunday mornings requires good transportation. So one Sunday morning I was walking out, and the bus driver saw I was going to be late. She stopped the bus and literally went out into the street and held traffic until I could cross and get on the bus. So some of you see me reading to Joan Moore on Sunday mornings. She relies on WeGo access ride for the physically challenged to transport herself from Madison. This is not as easy as walking through the hole in the hedge behind the Morgan house where she used to live, but it gets her here on Sunday mornings. A final reflection is a happy convergence of rapid transportation, community transportation, and spiritual growth through music. On May 24th, I walked out of my apartment and onto a number 3 bus, which took me 20 minutes to hear a great solo performance by our children's music choir director in Centennial Park.
The Declaration of Interdependence by Richard Blanco. Such has been the patient sufferance.
We are a mother's bread, instant potatoes, milk at a checkout line. We are her 3 children pleading for bubblegum and their father. We are 3 minutes she steals to page through a tabloid, needing to believe that even stars' lives are as joyful and bruised.
Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury.
We are her second job, serving an executive absorbed in his Wall Street Journal at a sidewalk cafe shadowed by skyscrapers. We are the shadows of the fortune he has won and the family he has lost. We are his loss and the lost. We are a father in a coal town who can't mine a life anymore because too much and too little has happened for too long.
A history of repeated injuries and usurpations.
We are the grit of his main streets, blacked out windows, and graffitied truths. We are a street in another town lined with royal palms, at a home with Peace Corps couple who collect African art. We are their dinner party talk of wines, wielded picket signs, and burned draft cards. We are what they know. It is time to do more than read the New York Times, buy fair trade coffee, and organic corn.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress.
We are the farmer who grew the corn, who plows into his couch as worn as his back by the end of the day. We are his TV set, blaring the news, having everything and nothing to do with the field dust in his eyes or his son nested in the ache of his arms. We are his son. We are a black teenager who drove too fast or too slow, talked too much or too little, moved too quickly but not quick enough. We are the blast of the bullet leaving the gun. We are the guilt and the grief of the cop who wished he had not have shot.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
We are the dead. We are the living among the flicker of vigil candlelight. We are in a dim cell with an inmate reading Dostoevsky. We are his crime, his sentence, his amends. We are the mending of ourselves and others. We are a Buddhist serving soup at a shelter along with a stockbroker. We are each other's shelter and hope, a widow's 50 cents in a collection plate, and a golfer's $10,000 pledge for a cure.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
We are the cure for hatred caused by despair. We are the good morning of a bus driver who remembers our name, the tattooed man who gives up his seat on the subway. We are every door held open with a smile when we look into each other's eyes the way we behold the moon. We are the moon. We are the promise of one people, one breath declaring to one another, I see you, I need you, I am you. Now let's have a moment of meditation, please. Thank you.
I'd like to invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in our middle hymn, Building Bridges, in the turquoise hymnal. It's number 1023. Building bridges, it's a round, so we need to make some creative divisions of our assemblage here. Maybe half of this group will be group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4 over here. We'll sing it twice through, Building Bridges. We'll sing it all together the first time, and then 2 full times through, and you just repeat the last line after your second time. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
To
Good morning. Many of you already know me. My name's Lóre Stevens. I used to be the membership coordinator here. I've lived here in Nashville for about 4 years, and during that entire time, I have not owned a car. I have a moped, which I use sometimes, but really the vast majority of the time, I'm walking or I'm using the bus. Now, when I was the membership coordinator, I lived way out in Bellevue, and so I would come to the church on Sundays and on Tuesdays for staff meetings and the occasional Saturday, and each time I had to take the bus. Not just the bus, 2 buses. And like Warren mentioned, it can take a little while. For me, it took, from Bellevue to here, an hour and a half each way. I hope you all know I love you. And so I had a lot of time on my hands, and so I listened to a lot of podcasts. One of my favorites is Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, which is these 2 atheist divinity school students who realized, oh, we don't have a holy book like the big religions do. But what if we treat something that we love as though it's sacred and try to get some wisdom out of it that we can apply to our daily lives? We love Harry Potter. We're millennials. So they went with that. And so I was listening to it a ton on the bus. And I thought, well, if they can treat Harry Potter as sacred, what else can we treat as sacred? For me, sacred is kind of an unfamiliar concept. So I was like, what does sacred even mean? I think, according to a brief Google, it means something that helps us feel connected to the divine. For me, the divine is connection itself. So then what makes me feel connected to connection? Like, where does that show up? What does that even mean? And then I would get off one bus and get on another. Now, because I take the bus so often, I feel confident and qualified to say that public transportation sucks. Ooh, it's not great, y'all. Here in Nashville, it's not great. It comes late, or it's early, or it's not often enough. It doesn't run late at night. A few times I've been standing at the stop on time with my life together, and the bus will just pass me right by. That's happened like 3 times. Manspreading, that's a thing. Are you familiar with this concept? It's exactly what it sounds like, and that happens a lot on the bus. So there's a lot of problems with public transportation, especially in the South. But once a week, I take the bus from my house now in Green Hills to Vanderbilt in order to borrow my dad's car once a week. I feel fortunate to be able to do that, to get laundry, do my laundry, get some groceries. And so once a week, I'm reminded that driving is even worse. Wow. Do you guys do this every day? It's so dangerous. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. So I get in my dad's car and I shut the door and my worst self just pops up to take the wheel. I turn into a monster. This speed limit, this must be a joke. Well, I guess I live at this light now. I say things like, "Are you pedaling, Grandma?" That comes out of my mouth, y'all. Who am I? It's a disaster. It becomes all about me. It becomes all about where I'm going and when I expect to get there, and everybody else is an obstacle. I don't see them as people anymore. They're just in my way. I get literally, emotionally, spiritually disconnected from my community and from the environment by the steel cage of that car. It's a bad scene. My values go completely out the window. Worth and dignity? Nope. I say things that I would never say to someone in person, and even if they can't hear me, saying them affects my heart. I arrive at my destination and I feel like a terrible person because I just was. It's not great. The interdependent web, y'all, I know this church loves a Prius. I know that about this church. And I mean, that's cool. They do get like 60 miles to the gallon, so that's pretty great. Because, guess how many miles to the gallon a train gets? Guess. 1. What, any other guesses? 10. Yeah, that's pretty close. 480. I know, I couldn't believe it either. I swear to, because the steel wheels and the steel rails have so low friction, they can just go. 480 miles to the gallon a train gets while hauling 2,000 pounds. So sorry, your Prius isn't gonna cut it anymore. Ooh. Teslas are cool, and Volts and electric cars. Ooh, that's fun. Oops, guess where that electricity comes from? Oh, coal and natural gas. Yep. Oh, you've got a solar panel on your house, and that's what you use to charge your car. That's pretty cool, but the process that they used to make the car was pretty bad. They used a lot of materials, and they polluted a whole bunch to make that car. Sorry, it already happened. So it's just, there's no green car. There's not. We just gotta face that fact. And we have to understand, sometimes when I get on this soapbox and I talk to people about public transportation, and I kind of evangelize a little bit, they're like, well, Lori, I have kids, and I have a place I have to get to. I have to use a car. I need to use a car. And I'm like, ooh, y'all, I see people every single day on the bus who have kids, who have serious disabilities, complete blindness, amputated limbs, and they don't get a choice because they're in poverty. They have to take the bus. We get to choose. And so we need to use that choice and that privilege to be in solidarity with those people. Because if every adult in the country or in the world felt entitled to cars the way that our culture makes us feel entitled to cars, this climate change game would be over. We really have to face those facts. We have to be in line with our values. And if we, as Unitarian Universalists, believe in justice and equity, we have to be willing to make some sacrifices and be in solidarity with people who don't get the choice. There's a reason why the civil rights movement, one of their key locations of resistance was buses. Rosa Parks didn't sit in the passenger seat, y'all. No. It wasn't called the Montgomery bike boycott. And this was because the civil rights activists knew how important public transportation is, how key it is to a society that is equitable, accessible, and works for everybody. Now, in the South, we don't have segregated buses anymore. Yay, us. At least we don't have big signs saying that they're segregated. What we do have is class segregation. Because the middle and upper class folks here in the South, I mean, the system has set it up this way, so it feels like we can't live without a car. And so we don't live without a car. And so it becomes class segregated. And as hopefully most of us know, people of color are disproportionately affected by socioeconomic oppression. And so what's class segregated is usually also race segregated. Car culture is emblematic of American inequality, that some people get convenience and luxury and comfort, and some people just have to deal with everything else. We get to choose. Our choices affect other people. When we choose cars, that works for us, but it makes alternative transportation, means it's not as supported as it could be. The more cars we have, the worse the effects of driving become. More traffic, more accidents, more pollution. It's the opposite with alternative transportation. The more we use it, the better it gets for everybody. The more bike lanes, the more safety rails, the more trains and buses that work for everybody of every socioeconomic class and every race and every ability. Now, I made some jokes earlier about how bad public transportation is, but it's actually pretty good compared to the way it used to be. I really love taking the bus. I choose it. I get to relax. I get to be driven to my job. It's really luxurious. I get to listen to podcasts and listen to music and arrive at my destination as though I just left my house. I'm not angry. I'm not frazzled. So I would really ask you to give it a try if you don't already. You should try it maybe just a little more than you already do. Because this car culture is not sustainable, and we have to make some changes right now. And I want you, if you do try it, to notice how you feel when you get to your destination. I want you to notice if you feel like you've just been through a near-death experience, that's how I feel when I drive, at least in Nashville. Or if you feel like you just got to see a coworker from an old job that you haven't seen in 2 years, or you just got to meet somebody new who happens to live in your neighborhood. Or you got to see a really cute baby. Y'all, there's so many cute babies on the bus. Or a service dog. You just got to sit at the bus stop and appreciate what a beautiful day it is. Or, sometimes it's raining and you get to appreciate that it's raining. I want you to imagine what a culture and a society would look like if we all we're in solidarity together to make transportation work for everybody. Imagine a street that people can walk in, that has safe and roomy bike lanes, that has trees instead of parking spots, that doesn't waste space on hot pavement and car sleeping spots. It's if we make these little choices over and over again, just like the folks on Harry Potter and the Sacred Text said, we can see where sacredness shows up in our everyday lives. And when we repeatedly, intentionally make a choice that's in line with our values, that's a spiritual practice. Just like David and Warren said so well, when we choose and live our values, it changes the world. And they're little itty-bitty individual choices that turn into big changes. So I want you, after this, to go home and see if you can make just a couple changes. Ask yourself, do I want my life, our lives, our communities, our future to be shaped by our values or by our vehicles? Thank you.
I'm ready. Grab your turquoise hymnal and open up to number 1018, and I invite you to come and go with me to that land. Number 1018, please rise in body or in spirit as you're so moved and join in the singing.
Please recite with me the words found at the bottom of your program.
I'm cribbing from Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard and the stakes are very high, and our choices affect other people and the earth. But take courage. There is another truth. We are not alone, and there are so many cute babies on the bus. And we have choices. And those little choices sometimes open up new glimpses of the sacred. Our service is over. Go in peace and choose to travel in the ways of justice, solidarity, and joy.